Amanda, thank you for joining us for our actual intro and not me humming some weird version of it. So thank you so much. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Amanda Salcedo. I am an online business manager for product-based business owners, but most importantly, I am a former client of Deanna herself from 2013, because we got married in 2014, so.
Yeah, it was forever ago. Forever ago. But your whole friend group was just like so much fun. I had such a great time getting to know you. And just, that's like, I feel like the cool part of my job is, are you a client? Yeah, you were a client, but like you do become friends. Like
yes.
You truly, because weddings, it sounds silly, but like it's a once in a lifetime thing, and you're with people in like very intimate moments of time, and
yes.
like you can't help but to have a bond with that. And then we were kind of talking about like how much fun it is, just like with social media, like you can watch families grow.
Yes.
And then I got to take pictures of Amanda and her handsome hubby, her beautiful daughters.
Thank you.
Just before, so yeah, it's like it's really, really fun. And your daughters are just so beautiful.
Well, and I think the craziest thing has to be that we reconnected because we attended a wedding for one of Chris's friends from high school that you just happened to be
completely random.
The photographer at. And I was like, I definitely think that's Deanna over here.
Yeah, it was me. It was definitely me. Yeah, so I had actually reached out to you maybe like a year and a half ago or something, just to say like, hey, I'm doing this podcast. Would you be interested? And she's like, you know what? I'm like kind of busy right now. Like maybe at some point, but just catch up with me at a later time. And then that was great because when I saw it, you were like, wait, are we still down? Are we still down?
So
and like,
funny.
Not only are we down, bring your family.
Yes.
We'll take pictures first. So it was awesome. So as if you guys aren't listening to this podcast before, you should probably start because I'm so cool. But if you just need, I love talking to people who go their own way. Don't necessarily like wake up, do the 9 to 5, and that's it. That's what I'm doing. I didn't do that obviously, even though I intended to. But I got really interested in it when like my daughter was going to school and everything, and then during the pandemic when I could pay closer attention to her education, like it was very obvious a traditional educational path, like it's not suited towards her. And we started exploring like different things, like polytech, going into the trades, and it's just like it's such like a wonderful opportunity for people, and even me as like a person who has a non-traditional, but like it didn't occur to me to promote it to my children until like, for better or worse, like everybody slowed down during the pandemic.
Right.
You had the chance to like take a step and think about what you're doing, and it's so awesome talking to so many different people who are like, yeah, I ended up doing my own thing too, because like there's 1,000 different ways to do it.
Right.
Like I feel like they make you feel scared. Like
yes.
You don't
100%.
follow the mold, you'll fail.
Yes.
So your daughters had a little bit of something to do with how you got into what you're doing now, right?
Yeah, so it's funny because talk about traditional and traditional education. I was a teacher when you and I actually, when we met. I was in a leave replacement position at that point, and then I got offered a tenured role position, and then I ended up getting tenure through a school district in 5th grade, and I loved it. I loved being a teacher. It is one of the most fulfilling jobs I think you can do in your life. But when I had my first daughter, I realized that number one, it just did not suit our family role anymore. My job was too far away from where I lived. And then she was in daycare from 7:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, and that was really, really hard for me to have someone watching my child pretty much grow up while I was teaching other people's children. And it's a really hard thing because you can't prepare yourself for that when you're going to school.
Right.
And it was in that and the wake of the pandemic when I was pregnant with my second child that I was like, I don't think this is for me. And if you know me, anyone that knows me, I'm type A through and through. Yeah. So I am very much like, do not go away from streamlined things and jobs. So it was very hard. It was scary, like you said.
And you had achieved it, like getting tenure, like that's it, like you made it.
Yeah. And then I walked away. And listen, the school district I work for is one of the most prestigious school districts in New Jersey. I had a wonderful principal, wonderful colleagues, and it was very, very hard to walk away from. Very hard. But I knew in my heart of hearts that number one, I wasn't feeling fulfilled anymore. And number two, it became a job and it wasn't a passion. And I knew I needed something that did both. That was a job and a passion. And
I imagine in teaching, you want to feel passionate about it. Like you probably like feel like you should feel that way for the kids.
Right. And that was the thing is I felt like, you know, and that's like a whole other subject, but I feel like education when I first started was really about the kids. And that's why I became a teacher, was for the kids.
Right.
And then it became more about like numbers and things like that.
Yes.
And I was like, this is not why I became a teacher. I became a teacher for the passion of loving children, seeing them get that aha moment, and like genuinely wanting to learn and come to school.
Right.
And it wasn't about that anymore.
So it would basically like be like saying, Deanna, you can be a children's photographer, except all you're going to do is work the accounting to pay for the studio.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's
you're like,
so
you're a child photographer, but you're an accountant, so enjoy that. But you could see them and like hang out with them.
Right, but you can't.
But the numbers are really important.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never like thought about it like that, but you're so right. Because my sister was a teacher, and then vice principal, and now principal, and just when she tells me about what she has, because she's the same, like. She knew she wanted to be a teacher from a little kid. When she was in high school, she would help out. They're not called latchkey kids anymore, but like what that program was.
Right.
She worked at that. She went to Rutgers for teaching. Like this is all she wanted, and then and she worked really, really hard to get whatever degree you need to get so you become administration.
Right.
And and then it all kind of happened through the pandemic. It happened before, but like a little bit before, right? Not a lot of it before.
Right.
And that's just like a lot to take on.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Because administration, like the teachers probably had to deal with grumpy kids and grumpy parents, and then the administration had to deal with like grumpy voices on high talking like these are the state mandates, figure out how to make it work.
Good
and
luck.
If every parent yells at you, oh well.
Yep, pretty much. It was, and like I said, doing it so I taught 5th grade, so they were 10 and 11-year-olds who had really never had to do a ton of work. I mean, like we used computers in school, but it wasn't all day every subject. And I definitely felt like it was like, all right, so how am I supposed to teach a child to do multiplication through the computer, but differentiate it for them and make them feel like they're learning and being heard, but also make sure my 15-month-old who just learned how to walk is not running into walls and like,
and also I want to be there for my 15-month-old.
And also I'm 6 months pregnant and fearful of a pandemic, so it was
I can't even imagine that part of it.
It was what a time. What a time.
So what was like the first step? Because you probably dabbled a little bit in this. So how would you say like you even got started looking at what you're doing now?
So I was trying to think of, so I had done virtual tutoring. I had like a virtual tutoring, like I did it independently on the side. And I was like, all right, well, I was already making worksheets for that. I was doing those things independently, and I enjoyed doing that. So I was like, how can I kind of take what I'm doing there? I used to do newsletters for my students and the parents in my classroom.
Right.
So I was like, how can I take all those skills and like implement it somewhere else?
Right.
And I had a friend who was a realtor reach out to me, and she was like, I'm thinking I want to start like email marketing, but I don't know where to go with that. I'm too busy to like look into it. If I like throw you a couple bucks, can we, whatever. And that's kind of how it really started. I started doing email marketing for real estate agents.
Okay. And then you're like, this is something I can do. I can do this. I can help people. Like, I can do this.
Right. And complete side note, there are people that are virtual assistant coaches and online business manager coaches that if you are not someone that can figure stuff out on your own, but you want to learn those things, they have courses and things like that you can take. I am very much like, I'm just gonna like figure it out on my own and like kind of just like fall through the process. Like, I understand it. But I know some people don't have patience for that. And that's kind of where it started. I just kind of started dabbling, seeing what I was good at, what I enjoyed.
She like mentioned your name to somebody or something?
Yeah, so she started mentioning her name to a few colleagues, and that's when I realized I was also, which I'm sure you have dealt with as a small business owner, I realized I was really undercharging myself for the services that I was offering. And I was like, okay, so I need to like reevaluate. Maybe I need to make some packages. Maybe I need to write down what they include.
You know what I think that comes from most of the time? I think that like, I think most people probably have like a rough idea in their mind what they want to make. Like, like an hour. Like, right? That's a lot of times. And I think when you start something, you say to yourself, for me to really do this right, it's going to take roughly this much time.
Right.
That would be so much an hour. So and this will be, and if I could make this much money for this much work, I'm going to be amazed. And then as you start doing it, if you care about it, you realize, well, I should do this extra step. And you know what I found? So much of it is like your backups. Like, what can I do? Oh, what if they don't understand this thing? How can I do something to make it even easier? And then as you go through the process, you keep realizing ways you can make it better for them, and then you realize you're like, oh crap.
Right.
This is I want to do it the right way.
Right.
But it's definitely taking me longer than I thought. But I think you probably saw this for the most part. You'll change your prices, and maybe the people like who were with you at the time were like, you know what? I understand that you got to raise your price. It's just more than I want to do.
Right.
But I think you learn the skill. You have the value. Your name is going to get spread. So the people who want that type 100%. Of service are expecting that type of rate.
Right. And that's the thing. I have one client right now. I love her to death. I've been with her for over a year at this point, and she will say it until she's blue in the face. She says, I cannot do this business on my own. And I know, and she's like, and it's not just that I can't do it, it's that I don't want to. There are parts of my business I just don't want to do. Like, I don't want to do email marketing, but I know I need to do email marketing. She'll say things like, I know I need to be putting out content, but I don't have time to sit here and do content. And I would rather pay someone else to do that for me that finds joy in that and is good at that could do it in half the time.
Well, yeah, and you know what? That's so smart. I feel like if I was probably like 5 years delayed, right? Like if I would have started my business even 5 years differently, right? Because if you have a business and like it gets successful, I feel like it's a little bit slow, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, and it gets really, really busy, and then it gets to a point where you like have to like say, okay, like I'm at it, what do I need to do?
Totally.
Do I need to hire somebody? Do I need to not hire somebody? But it's like, I feel like your business is slow, and then it has a period where it's just you're just busy.
You're
just
time.
Busy with it growing, and then it gets to a point where you're like, I feel good. I feel good at this. Do I want to continue growing? Of course. But if this is a plateau for me, like, I'm very comfortable for here.
Right.
And then it's like, and when you get to those plateaus, then you can kind of like reassess. And it's funny. So by the time social media is a force, right?
It is a force.
You can't have a business without
No,
social
you cannot.
media.
No.
And I feel like if I was just like 5 years delayed, like if I was in the period of my life where it's just like I'm all hands on deck all the time because I'm growing and that's what I want. Like that's the most important, but I'm not going to stop growing. So I would be like, please, here, take my money.
Yeah.
Do this for me. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. By the time it's 9 o'clock at night, I want to sit down with my husband and watch TV and fall asleep.
Right.
Not be like, now I gotta go on Instagram.
Yeah. Let me schedule this post real quick. Let me engage with it. Like, 100%.
And I'll tell you, so I started learning it like at a good time, and I'm a big fan of automations as well. And I'm a nerd. I love it. It's very, very fun to me, so I enjoy learning it. But like, if I wasn't a person who enjoyed that challenge, I would kill myself every single day.
Right.
Because when you go to set up these automations, you'll do it the same exact way 1,000 times.
100%.
On 1,001, it doesn't work, and nobody will tell you why.
Nope.
Now, I'm a dork, and I'm like, well, let's see what Reddit said, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if that, like, my husband, he would just have me do it, or like by the time I said no, like he would have to hire somebody. He'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
And that's where a lot of my clients come from. And I mainly work with product-based business owners, but I've worked with service-based as well. And they'll say, like, I just don't have time or patience to figure it out. And that's where a lot of it comes from, especially like you were saying with the automations and a lot of these product-based business owners, they use Shopify and things like that. So it's like updating listings and making sure those things come through. And then
oh my gosh, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm crafty on the computer, obviously, for my job. So in my downtime, I design stupid restaurants. It's done. It's not even like a big thing. But like some people, oh, can I buy it? Blah, blah, blah. I did a Shopify. I never had a big store or anything like that. But oh my gosh, uploading it and what supplier you're uploading from and putting it to your store. Does it go in this store? Does it go in that store? I'm like, I don't ever want to do this. Like, this is like no fun at all.
Right. It's definitely, there's so many different things that you can do in this world. And that's why, like you were saying, it's so important to evolve. Like, I'm sure, maybe, that some of your packages that you had when you first started have changed or altered and things like
wildly
from like what you're offering now.
Because it wouldn't make sense. I've been doing wedding photography for almost 20 years.
Right.
So like it wouldn't make sense.
No.
Like if I was doing the same offering, same packaging, same everything, it would be like you wanting to go shop at like Aeropostale, and you walk into like Kmart from the 80s.
Right.
No, this doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
This isn't what I'm looking for.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like, that's the same thing with me. I've been my own business owner at this point for September. Really is going to be a full 2 years. Which is crazy. It's like when I officially I put in my resignation from teaching in June of 2022 But like I didn't really tell anyone because I do have like a bigger social media following. I didn't tell anyone until September, like when school started. And I did it on a day when I was starting with a new client. So I was like, it's a first day of school, but it looks different for me this year because I like to, I'm a storyteller. I love a good story. So I definitely use those in all of my content.
I love it. So So you're married.
I am married.
And one thing I have to say is I remember I told you, I don't know if you remember me telling this, but I remember seeing it and feeling it. Your husband loves you.
Yeah.
So much. The way he looks at her, it is adoration. Pure adoration. So he's so handsome and he's so nice, and if you talk to him you couldn't not want to be his friend. So I'm just wanting to say that.
I count my lucky stars because, and I'm not just saying this because I know he's going to listen to it. My husband is one of the most supportive people.
Well, that's what I wanted to
I've ever met.
You moved that transition.
Well, first off, when I stayed home from, so when you're a teacher, you get a couple weeks of maternity leave that are paid, and then some of it's sick days, la 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 la. But I didn't have a lot of that because I got pregnant so quickly with my second after my first, and I didn't have those days allocated. And I said to him, I said, listen, I don't think we can, I was just blunt with him. I was like, we cannot afford for me to go back to teaching and pay for daycare because it's going to be, daycare was going to be a whole salary and a half of my monthly income as a teacher. And I was like, that literally makes no sense to me at all to go back to teaching.
You'd literally be working.
I'd be working to pay for daycare. Yeah. That's so dumb.
Yeah.
And he was like, I completely agree. He's like, if you're comfortable staying home, I'm comfortable with you taking the unpaid leave. That was before I actually resigned. So I was taking unpaid leave. That's when I started doing all the things that I was just telling you about before. But he would, my husband works 8 to 5. We live in Somerset, but he works in Piscataway. And he would, the second he came home, he's like, all right, I'm tagging in. You go upstairs, do your client work. I'm going to cook dinner. I'll get the kids washed for bed.
That's incredible.
And I would come down, because I would work 5 to 9, because I had, at that point, I had a 2-year-old and a newborn.
Yeah, they're not.
I couldn't be doing work. You can't throw them in front of the TV for hours.
You can't.
You can't even do that with like a teenager at this point, right? So I would go work upstairs 5 to 9. He would take care of, the kids when my newborn needed to feed because she was breastfeeding. I would feed her. He'd bring her upstairs, and that was it. And then I would come downstairs. Everything would be clean downstairs. We'd spend some time together, go to sleep, wake up, do it all over again. And he was, and still is, the most supportive person
that's awesome.
ever. And I do mean it when I say it. I know it sounds so cheesy, but if you look at my social media, I talk about it all the time. He is, number one, he's my college sweetheart from Montclair. We fell in love in a very serendipitous way. I got into the class last minute. It had like an opening 5 minutes before.
And you just saw him, right? You just saw him.
And I just saw him, and I was like, he is fine. Like, that is it. I am sitting next to him, and he is the most humble of men too.
Yes.
He will not let on to let you think that he thinks that he's, like attractive, fine man or anything like that. And he always thinks he has room for improvement in all aspects, and he's incredible. He really is incredible. And he is an incredible father. And my parents will always tell me. And I think that's like a big thing for him too, is they always say like, he is not just like a great partner, but he's such a good father. And right now he's walking around right now with my kids so that I could do this podcast on a Saturday. Like, he's just...
No, that's amazing. And it's funny, there was somebody in just before you, and because I was explaining why this was set up, and the guy was asking, because I'm like, it's not photography related at all, my podcast. So I told him, and I said, you know what I found that was really interesting? Everybody that I talked to, except for one person, and she never stuck with it, she eventually did go and get a full-time job, like at a bank. Like, and she was very well for herself. Like,
right.
But everybody else who had stuck with it, somebody supported them. Mm-hmm. They had somebody support, whether they, were younger and still at home and their parents thought they were crazy, but they had that one aunt who was like,
person.
You can do this. Or maybe you're, younger and everybody thinks you're crazy, but you met a great girl and she's like, I believe in you, you can do this. And for me, I had a very similar situation, only I got laid off. My job went the way of the economy during the last recession, and they offered to let me commute up to White Plains, but at any point in time, I would have been like 3 to 4 hours away from my daughter.
Yeah.
And it was already a lot, because after she was born, I went back part-time, but like, my husband said it broke his heart to wake his baby girl up at 5 in the morning to drop her off somewhere.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I didn't like doing that.
It's hard, yeah.
So they offered to give me a job up in White Plains, and my husband was like, we were much younger. Like, we weren't in a situation where I could take an unpaid leave. Like, we were in a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, listen, I did get a severance package, so it gave us a little bit of breathing room. And he's like, I'm going to take every road job I can get. I'm just going to work all the time. Try to make it work. Yeah. And he did. He would, same type of thing. He has the type of, at the time, well still, but it's whatever, very long, stressful days, constantly on. And for me, it wasn't, so for you, it's just kind of like that daily thing. Every day, he never had a break. For us, it was, you'd work, 12-hour shifts, 14-hour shifts all week long. And then on your day off, you were watching all the kids, because I was done all day.
Right.
So, like, and it's one of those things where, like, I know that women like naturally support women, and we can see what we're doing, and we're like, you're doing a lot, and like that's a lot of hard work, and I respect that. But I think sometimes, like, husbands don't get the credit. Like,
100%.
Like, think about the fact, like, I know how I feel when I get home from, like, when I do a wedding. A wedding is a long day.
Yeah.
If I got home from a wedding And then I was like, my husband was like, now go take care of the kids.
Yeah, like,
so
tag your it, see you
I would be
later.
like, no, I don't want to do this.
I know.
And they just, so many husbands just are like, you don't even have to thank me. Of course that's what I'm going to do.
And Chris is the same way. I mean, even, like, there was, what was it the other day? I said, yesterday, I went to go get a pedicure.
Here, you keep talking. I'm going to do my little ghetto thing where I'm going to start and stop it. So when I get up there and I tell you, hold on, that's why. I'm being a little ghetto today, sorry.
So when I said to Chris the other day, I said, I really want to go get a pedicure. And he's like, are you asking?
All right, stop it there. All right, were you asking?
I said, no, I'm not asking. I was just telling you. And he's like, well, because like you don't have to ask. You can do what you want. Because, you know, for me, I work during, so right now my kids, they go to camp in the summer. And that was like a whole thing too, because a lot of product-based business owners or even small business owners in general, when you have young kids, it's, especially in the summer, you're like, so do I pay for them to go somewhere? And you feel guilty about it and you're putting out all this money? Or like, do you keep them home with you and then you feel guilty because they're sitting there doing nothing all summer?
I kept them home with me and they just, I didn't feel guilty they were doing nothing because I never had the opportunity, because they would tell me every 15 minutes how we're not doing everything.
Right.
And apparently every other kid in the entire universe.
Yeah, everyone.
Everybody's at the pool, at the beach, on vacation, on the cruise, in some exotic land.
Yeah. How come we're not in Bora Bora? How come we're not going to the moon?
My kids, I'm telling you, when they were little, it was the pool. Now that they're older, so like, if we do family vacations, we do them like March, just because summertime is like busier for us. So, this friend is going here and this friend is going there. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Get poorer friends. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
But like also, you went in March when your friends were just living their best life in the weather in New Jersey. So
yeah, I know. No, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it does not. But I mean, like, you know, that was like a big struggle for me too. I felt a little bit of mom guilt for that because I was like, now they've been in school day. But like honestly, my kids love going to camp. My oldest is in a trip camp. So she goes to like the movies.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like, Kids Empire. They do all these things.
My kids love camp. When I have put them in it, they were like, this was the greatest thing ever.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
And it's nice because I have more flexibility to get more things done. And now that my kids are getting older, like they're both in dance. They both just started karate. They do taekwondo.
Love.
So yeah, and they're so good. My oldest is testing for her white belt next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So it's one of those things that like they leave at 8:30. So I have to get everybody ready before that.
Right.
And then I need to pick everyone up no later than 3 because then like I've got to get everybody's stuff done. So then I need to be done by like 2.
Yes.
Because I need to like clean up and then I need to like reset the house. Maybe take like 30 minutes to breathe for myself.
Right.
You know?
But like, also, I always do the thing. I always do the thing when my husband calls and he says it's on the way home. I'm like, girls, pick up! Pick up your shoes. Dad is on his way.
And I don't, so like my problem is that Chris only works 10 minutes away. With traffic, it's like 15, 20 minutes.
So you don't even have the time.
I'm like, we have no time. I'm like, guys, let's go. We have no time. Dad's on his way home. That's when I'll usually say, Chris, did you want to stop at the liquor store and get a bottle of champagne real quick? Especially if there's like, sorry, Chris. If there's like chaos ensuing, you know, Twister looks like it's gone through the living room or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I remember when my girls were that age, it was, I don't know, I mean, honestly, it was probably just pure madness all the time. Because there's so many toys and dress-up clothes.
So many.
It's like not just toys. It's dress-up clothes, it's bows.
Yeah.
So you decided you're going to dive into this.
Yeah.
And Chris is supporting you. You have a supportive husband. What did it feel like to hand in your resignation?
I held my breath. And so when I put it in, I think schools had just started like really opening. Like it was like the first normal year.
Okay.
It was the first normal year after the pandemic. And I remember handing it in. I sent it into HR. And then I emailed my principal because I didn't want my principal to learn. I had a good rapport with my principal. I didn't want my principal to learn about it through HR, even though I wasn't there. And he had always said, like, when other teachers had left, he knew that, like, if you weren't back after, like, your 6 months, like, you weren't coming back. So I feel like he knew I wasn't coming back. But I was really integrated into the community. I helped with the musical program and I helped with the drama club, and I was very sad to leave. And that's where I feel like it was like I knew I was letting go of a part of me. And that's I think like the hardest part when you've had a job like that, or any job in general that you've had for a long time. And I, like you said before, like I always want, like if you look at my 3rd grade, you know those 3rd grade books you make when you're a kid, it says like, I will be a teacher. And it's like, I have a long neck and I'm wearing like a letter sweater with an apple and a chalkboard. Like I always wanted to be a teacher, and it was scary.
And what you're doing now is so wildly different.
So wildly different. And I'm not classically, I took no courses in it. I have no actual, which like, you know, and I always tell my clients this, I'm like, I literally have no training in this at all. And I'm all self-taught. And then they're even more like interested and excited about it. But I mean, it was scary to give up a tenured position, a pension. I mean, literally, it was very, very scary to do all those things. But I knew that I believed in myself enough, that my husband believed in myself enough. And more importantly, it's so funny, I felt like I was scared to even tell my parents, because like I said, number one, my parents are very supportive. They always have been, always will be.
They're pretty traditional, right?
They are very traditional. My father was an educator, he's retired now, and I knew that it was like the most, like I come from 4, and it was the most like off the beaten path thing I've ever done in my life to leave a traditional tenure job. And it was scary to even tell my parents. I waited a long, I told school first that I resigned before I even told my parents.
I would be the same way. There's things in my life that like as a grown woman, I'm like, so what, your situation is serious and real. My situation is stupid, so I'm sorry to draw a comparison. But one time, there's an airport around here. It's just like a little small local airport. And my old neighbors, we all had motorcycles at the time, so we drove by it. And my neighbor used to fly out of there, so he's chatting up with the guy who's about to go up. And it's an old prop plane, like the kind where your head sticks out. So we're chatting, and he's like, hey, would you want to go for a ride with him? I'm like, yeah, that'd be really cool. And I'm like, are you serious? So he's like, yeah, go ahead, you can come up, it's a 2-seater. So the last thing I said, now I'm married, is I turned to my husband and I said, whatever you do, don't tell my mom. So I get on the plane, I'm on a high, this is the greatest thing. I get off of the airplane, and we're walking back to the motorcycles. My husband's like, ha ha ha, oh yeah, and I called your mom. And like my face turned white. And we were married, but like, this was like a couple years in. So my husband knew my family, but like my husband really knows my mom.
Right.
So I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, you just ruined my night. He's like, come on. Well, 5 minutes later, my phone starts ringing, and it doesn't stop, and my mom is like, so yeah, it doesn't ever end.
I can understand that completely. And like I said, my parents are very supportive. And when I told them, I had no reason to, I mean, like, they were both very supportive about it. They were excited for me to be doing this,
awesome.
And they still are. And it's so funny because my dad is, my dad was born in 1956. So my dad is like, I don't really understand sometimes all the things you do, but it's great. My dad, I was on another podcast recently, and I'm sure he'll listen to this one as well. And he was like, it's just like, so like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so impressed to listen to you talk because you like articulate everything so great. But He's like, but you have no training in it. And he's like, it's like, I can't wrap my head around that you have a whole business that's online. It's a very hard thing to wrap my head around, but like, I'm so proud of you for doing it. You know what I mean?
It's awesome, right?
Yeah, it really is.
It's funny how even when you're a grown up, you still want to make your dad proud of you.
Totally. I'm a firstborn. I'm the firstborn. So
I am too.
Like, of course, I seek that validation. Right?
It's so funny where you said your dad was an educator. I think I told you this, but you probably forgot I told you so long ago. So my dad had a day job. If that's them and they want to come in, tell them to come in.
You can come.
We're just finishing up.
Okay, you can come in.
Yeah, you guys can come in. We're just finishing up.
We're just finishing up. We're still talking, but yeah. Don't come over here though.
Mommy.
Oh, just Stay right there.
So we're doing a video, so just stay on that side,
Yeah,
my love,
perfect, right
and
there.
then you guys can hang out. But if you want,
ice cream.
that's amazing. If you want to go in one of the other rooms and close the door, then we can't hear. That's
Perfect.
all.
Thank you so much. We're almost done, guys.
Yeah, no, you girls are being awesome. But my dad had a day job but did photography like quasi full time, and that's so funny. I'm firstborn, daddy's girl, and then yeah, I did the same job my dad did.
It's so funny. It really is. It's hilarious.
So did you ever have any naysayers or people who are like, I don't know? It was probably weird for you because it was during COVID. Like
it was so it was, and I think that's why I felt safe doing it.
Because you wasn't out there.
I wasn't out there. To this day, like I work from home. Like my office is my house. I don't have an office.
So, you know what, Amanda? That is really interesting. So one of the things, so just like talking to you and hearing your story, like for the most part, like it was really like a lovely process for you.
Yeah.
And talking to so many people, like myself included, I'm not even saying people are trying to be a-holes, but people would like drop these jabs.
Yeah.
And everybody similarly that I talk to, like myself included, like we're just people, we have self-confidence.
Right.
Like we have, and I think you need that if you're going to have your own business.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because the hardest thing for so many people to overcome was like the naysayers, right? Because it gets in your brain. But like, I wonder if we're just gonna see like this amazing like outpouring of like phenomenal people doing stuff because finally, where were the naysayers? They were just holed up in their house.
I mean, I think that had a lot to do with it.
Wow, I never thought of that.
A lot to do with it, but I also think, there were times I had self-doubt. Like I was explaining to you before we started recording, there were a lot of things because I didn't take courses and like I learned a lot of things along the way. Like I was taking clients on but not having a contract. So I'd have someone sign up for a whole bunch of hours and then at the end of the month I'd be like sending them an invoice for next month and they would be like, oh, I don't want any more services. So then I was like, well, now I need to make sure I have 3-month retainers and things like that set up so that I'm saving my own income. And I think that the biggest thing for anyone that's starting a business is not only making sure that you have that self-confidence and have that thick skin, but make sure that you're trying to set yourself up for success. I strongly suggest people like looking at YouTube channels and like searching whatever industry you're trying to get into.
Right.
Especially if you're doing something like you and I are service-based businesses.
Yes.
Like making sure like you have like think about like a brand new photographer setting up that doesn't have a contract and they don't understand that why they need a contract, why that's important to have and stuff. And when you learn the hard way, it hurts. Like
some of them some of those can be painful. I was very fortunate. My father taught me a lot, but I have, for the most part, people who work for me aren't supposed to like take work from me.
Right, like NDAs and things.
But I don't really make anybody sign an NDA because everybody who works for me, like I don't hire scumbags intentionally. So
Right.
So and they're all very good, but I'm not like a jerk. Like I don't own your photography skills. So my basic thing is like, please, like don't ever use my work to go get weddings for yourself. But you have a skill, you want to take it. Who am I to say you can't? Why would I hold somebody down and say you can't own your own photography studio one day, right? Like I just don't feel like it's the right thing to do. So there's people, that I like a lot that work for me and, have asked me for like professional advice. And it's like stupid things. Like the stupid things. Like her very specific question to me was like, I don't know what to do because I did everything that she wanted and I gave her everything and it's perfect and it's beautiful and she just keeps saying she doesn't like it. And like that was like, it's, what do you do? I don't know. If you don't go to a course, how do you figure that out? I guess like you can look up tutorials, see if you can like find somebody that you trust.
Right. And that's definitely like the hard thing. I mean, when I first started, and I was just like trying to get people to, because there were some months that it'd be great when I first started, and there were some months that it was like crickets. I mean, like right now I'm very blessed. I am fully booked until September right now.
Congratulations!
Thank you. It's great. And to be honest, like, because I have, like you were saying, automations before, I have automations set up so I have like wait lists. So when I have an opening, like it sends out emails to the people on the wait list so they can.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
That you're so successful at this.
Thank you.
Like it makes me feel so happy because I know how scary it is.
It's scary
to take a chance. And when you're a small business owner, like when you work for somebody else, if you get fired, you always can kind of be like, but they were a jerk and it's a little bit their fault.
Right.
When you, it's on you.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's you. It's only your fault.
100%. Yeah.
And I don't think people can comprehend like what it's like to push past that and then see that success come in.
Yeah.
And you're constantly battling that negative thoughts all the time.
Totally.
But, like, I'm just so happy that like you did it. You made it to the other side. Like you won.
Thank you. And I feel like for service-based business owners like ourselves, like in order to be successful, you have to put yourself out there. You have to go to markets. In your examples, you have to go to like wedding expos and I have to like follow people on social media that are product-based business owners and you have to make those connections, and if you don't, people aren't just going to fall into your lap. I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes people fall, and that's great. Like, we love people that fall into your lap. But it doesn't really happen organically like that anymore, especially, like you were saying before, where social media is now this massive industry where there are all these different kinds of people in your field.
So many.
So it's
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that people pick you. They're not picking your service.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's probably why you're doing so well. You're so personable.
Thanks.
But yeah, I totally agree with you. So if somebody was interested in hiring you, because social media is just like, it's the monkey on your back.
Totally.
It never goes away.
Yeah.
And just when you have it figured out, they change the algorithm.
Always. They always do.
So if somebody out there is like, I'm done, this isn't a thing I want in my life, take my money and give me my peace back, how can they find you? So I'm at that social media momager at gmail.com, but you can also find me on Instagram with that social media momager. I'll give you the handle so you can put it in the show notes and things like that. I used to be a podcast manager too, so I know you all the show notes and things. Okay, so then, yes, thank you for that. That's why you're like, I already filmed you your B-roll. Yeah, I got you a B-roll for your, behind the scenes. Thank you so much. And honestly, if anyone out there is looking for anything, I also do email marketing, and I'll help you with automations and things like that too. So it doesn't necessarily need to be this thing with just social media, and that's where it's so important when you're looking for someone to ask the questions that you need support with in your business. Don't just pick someone because they have a shiny title as well. Definitely. Yeah, but that last thing that you just said, I guess just with like all the chat GPT integrations and stuff, I'm a dork and I like figuring it out. But if you could get her to hook you up with automations, I mean, it honest to goodness probably saves me like 2 full-time employees. 100%. And I've been a big proponent of automations because I have the type of work where I can't make a mistake. No. I cannot not show up. Yeah. Same. Yeah. I cannot make a mistake. Every content, everything I post needs to be beautiful. Right. No spelling errors. So yeah, that's amazing. So Amanda, thank you. Of course. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye guys. All right, let's see if I can figure out how to stop this.